So the big question is this: how do real estate investors who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base, how do we conservatively grow our real estate business to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. Greetings and salutations, Real Estate Undergrounders. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today is a unique show in that, one of the things that I'm always looking to understand is, different perspectives of our market and the real estate world. And so, with that in mind, I'm always talking to, mortgage brokers and bankers and insurance agents and realtors and brokers. And so the cool thing is we have a gentleman by the name of Darryl Davis. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Darryl is a world-renowned realtor, broker based in Long Island, out towards the Hamptons, I believe. And, not only that, but he's also a world-class coach, a best-selling author, and a mentor to, I imagine, thousands of realtors across the country. And so, I'm really excited about this episode because we're going to hear this from, a partner's perspective, in terms of, Darryl's viewpoint on the market, where we're going and how we got here. So Darryl, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me, Ed. I appreciate it. And thanks for doing this for your underground folks. This is really valuable content, and they're blessed to have this.
Thank you kindly. I appreciate that. So Darryl, for those of us out there that don't follow you necessarily on social media or the web, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Sure. I started real estate. I was 19 years old, Long Island, New York, as a real estate agent. Quickly rose the ranks. I did really well. I became a manager of an office. We opened it up brand new, became number one our first 6 months.
Wow.
Then So then that claimed the fame. I decided I want to start doing some seminars. I enjoy live seminars, delivering them. So I've been speaking now for 30 years. I'm not a real practicing realtor anymore. The majority of my clients are realtors. And
Yep.
But so I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm a CSP, which is a certified speaking professional. Less than 2% of all speakers in the world have that designation. So I'm honored that I have that. And here I am talking to Ed Matthews now.
There you go. And so I'll try to keep the ums and ahs to a minimum, given that I'm talking to her. But, one of the things that, I was just talking about this yesterday, actually, with another real estate professional local here. We were talking about, the market and deal flow and all that. And, there are so many commonalities with how a broker will kind of hit the ground running, right? And I come from the perspective of, technology world, and we think in terms of like concentric circles, right? So, in realtor world, that is neighborhoods. In investor world, that is neighborhoods, right? And, the whole idea is, from a real estate investment perspective is, you want to create awareness, you want to build relationships and, rapport, and ultimately relationships, become friends, create trust by serving, that community, to the point where when someone needs to sell their home or trade up or buy a property or whatever, that you've sucked the oxygen out of that market, and, you're the obvious choice to pick up the phone or shoot an email to say, hey, I would like to hire you to help me buy my next house or sell this property. Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's definitely, when it comes to any business, we were talking about this before we got on, that you've got to promote yourself, promote your business.
Yeah.
So that way, but my definition is self-promotion, to have people know your name, face, and what you do for a living, right? So now that's for realtors. We replace, let's say for a business, whether it's an investor, we would replace that face with the name of the company, the brand, the logo, what have you. So
yeah, I mean, and the fact is that, in both cases, whether investor or broker agent, you're using your brand, whether that's, your team or your office, or the logo, sitting behind me or whatever. But ultimately it comes down to two human beings having a conversation and figuring out if they can work together. Right. And
yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely.
and so, that's everything. And so, one of the things that you said when we were in the beginning, and I know this from, having read one of your books, the fact is that hitting the ground running for an investor, hitting the ground running for a realtor, really hard, right? I mean, at last, I think I remember seeing that, the average first year realtor makes about 20 grand, if not mistaken. It may even be less. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And I'm curious, what are your insights in terms of, why so many professionals struggle in that first year, and how did you do it? How did you become the number one office in, 6 months of launching your professional career?
Well, that's actually maybe a different answer for the first one. The first one about like, how does somebody hit the ground running and not just why so many fail or don't succeed.
Right.
I think whether it's an investor or a real estate professional is when they start doing something that they don't know how to do.
Right.
The first phase of learning is learning all the stuff you don't know.
Right.
So instead of going so we'll think, let me learn how to do this. And when I go learn that, I'll have knowledge, I'll be educated, I'll be enlightened, I'll know how to do this. So they have an expectation they're going to get smarter.
Right.
But actually, in the beginning, the first thing you learn is all that you don't know, all the stuff you have to learn. And so if this is even a word, you actually feel stupider in the beginning. And that takes a lot of people out.
Yeah.
They become overwhelmed. They don't have the patience. So it's important. So what I tell agents, which again, I'd say this would be true for investors too, is you've got to give yourself permission to fail. You've got to be patient, because that first phase of learning all that you need to learn, all that you don't know, is actually a good thing.
Right.
And not have that overwhelm you, right? Not have that overwhelm you once you see all that you have to learn. I'll give you, for instance, like just with me, I'd said to you that, I wish I had bought more property when I was younger. I started real estate 19 years old. I'm 55 years old now. Imagine if I had bought one house every year since I was 19, where would I be now?
You wouldn't be
I'm sorry to say it. I was just going to say that, Ed. You took the words right out of my mouth. Not to insult you, baby, but keep it real.
Reality's reality.
So now I'm starting to, I've got, bigger pockets. There's these places, resources I go for the investing. And
Sure.
I'm like, all right, I need, now that I've gotten some more properties, I need a better way to manage it, right? So we're doing a rehab, and I'm like, I'm sure there's an Excel file for this, but wouldn't it be cool if there was a software that can help me keep track of expenses and projections and stuff on a flip? But we're not flipping it, but anyway. So, and there's a bunch of choices out there.
Sure.
And so just to figure out that software, which is the best software, I'm like comparing, I'm looking, I'm taking time. And I feel like the time that I'm taking is kind of wasteful, because I'm not really going anywhere. I'm just learning software. It seems so unimportant, but it is. It's part of the process.
Yep, it is. And offline, I'm happy to tell you what we use. And it's actually really, really good. So
love to hear.
They're not a sponsor. So,
got it.
So, as far as, systems go, that is one of the ways to consistency, is to create a repeatable process. That's simple, right? And so, in terms of your business, whether that's as a realtor, as an investor, or whatever, what are some of the things that you look to put in place to be able to stay consistent and manage your business?
Well, it's you just gave the answer there. It's systemized, having systems, being organized. The one of the first books, when I started my profession as a real estate agent, 19 years old, I didn't know so much. I didn't know. Right. And but I was always a student. Like I always I embraced education. And so when I decided to open up my own training business, I was in my 20s, and I've always read a lot of books. So one of the books that was pivotal for me was E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber.
Yes.
And it's a great book. And actually, his firm coaches me personally.
Okay.
And so this concept of this book basically means, you should have a business that's not people dependent, but system dependent. And there's so many great examples in that book. So since an early age, I've always been about system and how we run our business, very systemized. We've got a system for just about anything. And so that's how you create predictable results. I'll give you, for instance. So in our business, in speaking and training, one of the lead gens that we'll do is free training, free webinars,
right,
where people attend, they learn, and at the end, they want to become a power agent, which is what we call our coach and members they sign. Now, I don't know I don't remember what the industry average, like to do free seminars, what that is, but I know we break records consistently every week, and we do this every week. We have over 800, 900 reservations, sometimes 1,500.
Wow. Really?
Every week. Now, from what I think I hear, if you get 100, you're lucky.
Yes.
Now, the reason why we do that is because what we're talking about here, I got a system.
Yep.
We figured it out, how to promote it. What's the email? What time? I mean, down to the time of when we send it.
Yep.
And if we're an hour late, I get twisted with the team. It matters. It's got to be, that's the system.
It does.
Improved. Anyway.
Yeah, right on. Well, that's really impressive. The fact is that that consistency, that robust consistency of what you're talking about, nothing happens until someone raises their hand and says, hey, I need a problem solved, or, hey, I'd like to take care of an opportunity. And so, the themes I'm hearing as you're talking through how you operate are things that really resonate with me in terms of consistency, but also education, right? I mean, utilizing education as a tool to kind of bring people into your world. And so, I'm curious about that. There's always that balance between providing strategy and providing tactics, right? And I'm curious what your philosophy is on that, and when you do the trainings and the upfront webinars and whatnot.
Well, I'll tell you, the strategy for these free webinars industry-wide is you tell people this is what you need to learn in order to be successful. But it doesn't matter what the success is. It could be to be a realtor, an investor. I was on a webinar about learning how to master the piano. I was the attendee. And so they'll tell you, this is what you have to learn, but they don't tell you how to do it.
Right.
So the whole hour is basically a tease job. If you want to know how to do it, you got to take my course. Now, that's fine, but it feels like you ate Chinese, you're hungry an hour later, or you feel
it's a little
empty.
less fulfilling, right?
It's not fulfilling. So we've never done, to me, I just can't, I would feel out of integrity doing that. I've never done that. I mean, my 30 years, if I do a live seminar, I don't tease people. I teach them, because here's my thinking. So our hour seminars, Ed, is content. It's like, if as a matter of fact, if you just attend the webinar and do what I tell you to do, you're going to have results. You're going to have, my philosophy is, if I can win your heart, if you love what I just taught in an hour, meaning I got 30 years over here. Yeah. I'm not giving you everything I know in an hour.
Right.
So if I helped you, if I didn't help you, then, sorry. If I helped you, then why would you not want to continue with me? So I invite you to participate and become our coaching member, so that way you can have access to all of me. So that's how the approach.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. A motivated seller just filled out your web form. If you call back within 5 minutes, you're nearly 4 times more likely to get that seller appointment. But delay your follow-up by even just 10 minutes? Forget it. You're toast. Ella Vista Connect calls that lead back in 60 seconds, qualifies them, and schedules your meeting. Find out how much slow follow-up is costing you. Free calculator at ellavista.com/underground.
Yeah, I mean, if you got value out of the 1% of the things I just talked to you about in great depth, where do you see the other 99%? Right? Yeah.
Now, listen, I may be doing it wrong. There's a lot of these gurus, but this is how I do, because for me, it's an integrity issue. So.
100%. You and I come from a similar approach in that, my job as a webinar host or a speaker is to make the folks that are listening a little bit smarter than they were when they walked in the door. And
Beautiful.
if you buy from me, great. If you don't, man, that's fine. I'm going back to my life. My life's pretty good.
We'll continue to help the people who want us, and
Exactly.
say la vie to the others.
Yeah, I wish you well.
Yeah.
So in terms of, I'm curious about your system, your marketing system. So when you said 800, I had lights going off in my head, like, ooh, this is interesting. Okay, let's drill into that. So obviously a huge piece of that is probably a really robust list management capability, and you probably have a pretty good idea of who the realtors are anywhere in the country. So that's got to help. But I'm curious how you create desire to be able to attend those webinars. How do you pull people into your world? Is it direct mail? Is it digital? Is it a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm going to make you tell us about right now? Or
I wish I could share, Ed, that it was some magical formula and
no missile secrets.
complicated. It really isn't. I'll tell you why I think in the simplicity works. Like, if there is a secret ingredient, I'll get to that in just one second. But
sure,
strategically, we do have our list. It's people have opted in, participate with the list. We email them basically 5 days out of the 7. So the webinar is every Wednesday, right? So we'll email them on Friday, on Saturday, actually 6 days. So we mail them once a day for that next upcoming webinar with the titles. So there's that. The emails are crafted really well. So we have an opt-in list, crafted email very well. We used to try Facebook advertising, paid advertisement. That didn't work for us. It was a waste of money. So I honestly think that if there is a weapon to it, is that we started doing it during the pandemic.
Okay.
And in the real estate industry for realtors, there was a panic, right? How the hell do you show a house without physically showing the house?
Right.
And so there was a lot of like the feeling of, oh my gosh, we got to learn a new way to do things, like fly an airplane and build it at the same time.
Right.
And so the fact that we stepped up as a company trying to help realtors navigate this new real estate reality and doing once a week, that's why we did it. Because, all right, let's figure this out together.
Yep.
I think that just planted a tremendous credibility. Plus, I've been doing this 30 years. I mean, if a realtor is an active realtor, if they haven't heard of me, then they're probably not an active realtor. Not to sound arrogant. It's just
but I mean, longevity, right?
I've been around. I've been in the business for that long that, right. and people know me. All right. So I have that credibility, that respect in the industry, the weekly prove of myself. I'm committed to you building value. So now here it is, 3 years later, I think we've trained the community to say, oh, Darryl's got his Wednesday webinar. It's valuable. He cares. Let's see. So I think that's what it was. I'm an overnight success. Took 3 years.
Of course. Well, actually, I would submit 27 to 30 years, right?
That's right. Okay.
It's the old Pablo Picasso story where, this couple walks up on a older gentleman and he's, they're in Madrid and he's painting and the husband realizes, holy cow, that's Pablo Picasso. And so, the couple goes up, master, I would be honored if he would paint my wife. The Picasso says, sure. Let her have a seat. I'll sketch her out and come back in an hour. And so that happens. And the couple comes back and Pablo says, okay, well, that'll be 5,000 euros. And he said, the husband says, 5,000 euros? You only took an hour to do it. He said, no. I took a lifetime to learn how to do this. Right. Mm-hmm. And, I think that webinars and books and, anything else that you can use to educate is a time compression, right? In terms of, when I read a book of yours or I attend a seminar, what you're doing is distilling a large block of your life and life experience into that period of time that we're interacting, whether that's the written page or whatever. And, the goal is always, it sounds like, that, you're going to help me take that leapfrog, or leapfrog that time so that I don't have to spin my wheels where you got hung up or where, the folks that you're studying got hung up, so that I can, walk in the door as a 19-year-old potential, a realtor and benefit from the advice of a 30-year veteran day one.
That's what we tell our kids, right? It's like, listen, I got years on you, so let's save yourself some time. Why don't you listen, So
Yeah. Good luck with that. I have
same
teenage
concept.
daughters, so I'm still in the phase of eye rolls and dad, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, teenage girls are,
They're awesome. They're fantastic. So, kind of building on the theme of the book, one of the things that I've always found is that, leaders, whether that's, executives running businesses or coaches and mentors or, anything else, leaders are always readers, right? But these days that is different in that it doesn't have to be a physical book. It can be webinars, conferences, podcasts, videos on YouTube, whatever. So I'm curious, audible books, I'm curious how you consume information when you're looking to sharpen the saw, so to speak. And I'm also very interested in to learn who you pay attention to these days.
Well, as I said earlier, so I have my own personal coach that coaches me.
Yep.
But I tap into, I'll be honest, I've become less of a reader that in my old age. But when I was younger, man,
I'm only a year and a half behind you, so that you're not that old.
Yeah, Well, when you listen, I feel older because a little bit more of my history. I became an emancipated minor at 16. When my dad passed, my mother and I weren't doing well. So I basically have been living on my own since I was 16. And so I feel older because I had to grow up sooner.
Right.
But anyway, so I'm sorry, my team is bothering me here.
Yeah, no worries.
But to answer your question, really how I tap into resources is my team. And honestly, my wife is brilliant. So she's my consigliere. So I run things by her when I don't trust my decision or I need to get another objective because she can be critical.
Yeah.
And which is great. And so she'll look at it from a real critical eye. Then my president and vice president, they're just brilliant folks as well. That's my support structure that I tap into.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because, having someone who's always going to tell you the truth and hopefully multiple people that will always tell you the truth, unvarnished, is invaluable, regardless of the business, right? You need somebody to be able to, when you ask an honest question, you need the unvarnished truth, in order to make the decisions you have to make, right? And so, whether that's whether you have mentors or a coach or team members that you rely on, or you married very well. I would submit that my wife is, a solid 30 to 50 IQ points smarter than me. So I too married well, but the fact is that having those people who will always tell you the truth is invaluable. And I always tell people I have plenty of cheerleaders in my life, right? If I want to feel good and hear how awesome I am, I'll go have breakfast with my mom, right? She thinks I'm great, and so. In fact, I'm having breakfast with her tomorrow. And, the fact is that, while I certainly value that and I adore my mom, the fact is that in business, I just need you to tell me what the straight dope is, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true. Having that good support system, and everybody brings different skill sets. And if you can pay attention to like some of the people I'll reach out to may have great business skills, but not as creative. Right. And I've got some that are really creative, but maybe not strong in the business skills. So sometimes you may have to tap into 2 or 3 different perspectives to then come up with your own strong collective one. Yeah. So,
yeah. Right. And, it's interesting. There's a story, and I'm going to butcher it, but I'm going to try and tell it anyway. There was a general who was deciding on, a particular strategy, and, basically what he did was he brought in captains and colonels and majors and listened to them debate the various aspects of the strategy and what would work and what wouldn't, and didn't say a word. And then said, okay, guys, thank you very much. I know what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. And, the private sitting on the side of the room said, how did you figure that out? Like, how did you understand that? And he said, my job is not to figure it out. My job is to put really smart people in place to be able to tell me their perspective so that I can then have, you're never going to know everything, but I can have as much good information as possible to then base a decision upon. Right. And you just described the same thing, in terms of the way your business works.
Absolutely. Yep.
So-
Yep.
So I'm curious, in terms of your personal life, your non-coaching, non-mentor, non-real estate life, how do you like to spend your time? What do you do for fun?
Well, I'm an avid theater goer,
Okay.
and so I try to get to the theater whenever I can. And of course, I love fine dining to boot. Usually, those two go well together. I'm actually going to New York City this Saturday with my son to see Hamilton.
Oh,
And I've seen
wonderful.
Hamilton. I've seen it twice. I'm going the third time, just him and I. My wife's not going because she's seen it twice with me. So he hasn't seen it, and I want him to see it. And he's a theater goer because he's always gone with me growing up. So, yeah. So it's a boys' night out. See
Fun.
Hamilton.
Excellent. And so, Darryl, if someone wants to learn, I know there are real estate agents out in the audience, or if some investors are thinking about, getting their license, what is the best way to reach you, get in touch, learn about, what you do and how you can add value and help them?
Yeah, just go to my website, darrylspeaks.com, DARRYL, 2 R's is the right way to spell it, darrylspeaks.com. And that's where I'm at.
Fantastic. Well, Darryl Davis, thank you so much for your wisdom and your time today. And I'm grateful for you spending a little bit of time to give our folks a whole bunch of gold nuggets. So appreciate it.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, Darryl. This has been the Real Estate Underground podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, happy investing. This has been the Real Estate Underground. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, Undergrounders, remember your real estate journey begins with a simple step forward. Now get to it. Bye for now.